Okay, you know what? Let me be completely honest with you. I feel like in this life, I was cursed in two different ways, kind of related in a sense, but different. One of those is I am very short. You know me, those of you who know me already know that I'm very short. I wish I could change that. I'm not happy about it. That's a topic for a different video because I could go really deep into my curse of being very short. And the other one is my passion for suits, my passion for menswear, for Dapper style, as you can tell. And if you follow me on social media, you know me how much I love suits and this style. But when you put those two things together, it has been a struggle all my entire life, ever since I started kind of exploring my passion for suits. Uh, I cannot tell you how disappointed, frustrated, tired I have felt on so many occasions just because whenever you go to a store, whenever you try on a suit, an off the rack suit, it just doesn't fit. It's a lot of fabric. You just don't look good. And then you have all these images of the people you admire, whose style you really admire, and it just doesn't look good. It just doesn't look the same. And if you're short and you're watching this video, I'm sure that this is resonating with you because I'm quite sure that you have been through something similar at least once. So it's a real struggle. And even if you're not short, I mean, even if you're tall or whatever, or if you have a body that is kind of like not the standard, I'm pretty sure that you have gone through something similar, through similar experiences, and how hard it is, how hard it is to stay motivated and positive, because it really doesn't matter how much you try, you're not going to be able to change your height. That's never going to change. And the clothing industry, the style industry, is really not that interested in catering to those specific body types or short men in our situation. But there's always something you can do about it. I believe that I have put that into practice, and that's why I'm making this video. I want to share with you some tips, some ideas, or things that you can try if you're really passionate about suits, shirts, style, Dapper style, and you're feeling a little bit frustrated. Well, this video is for you. I'm going to share with you a few tips, how I do it, my personal recommendations, and hopefully by the end of the video, you'll be a little bit more positive. I will show you the light at the end of this tunnel, because there is a light. There's always something that you can do, no matter how hard it seems, no matter how disappointed you feel when you're watching this video. Trust me, there's something that you can do. So let me get started with the key tips that I'm going to share with all of you today. The first one is fit. Fit is key. Absolutely. If you want to look your best when you're in a suit, if you're a short man, the most important thing that you can focus on is the fit, how the suit fits, how the shirt fits. Even if you ignore all the rest, as long as you know that your suit fits correctly, it's just going to look much better than the average person, even taller persons, because the fit can be a problem for a lot of people. For a lot of men, they just don't get it right. So how can you do this when you're a short man? I know it's difficult buying off the rack. You can always try to find the smallest size possible. And then, this is really important, take that suit to a tailor, or take those trousers, or take the jacket to a tailor. An experienced tailor can always make some adjustments to your clothing, to whatever you have bought, so that piece will fit you better. They can bring in the waist, make it a little bit shorter. For example, my arms are very short. That's on top of being very short, then my arms are very short as well. So they can shorten the sleeves on your jackets. There are so many different things that a tailor can do for you. Just find a good tailor, a tailor that you can trust. Eventually, you will build a relationship, of course, and they'll know exactly how you like your suits, how they should fit you. They can give you some recommendations, some suggestions. And having that tailor that you can trust and you can always go to, and someone that knows your tastes, will definitely help. So that's tip number one, fit. Okay? Then, before I move on to point number 2, I want to mention this. There's always the possibility of going to with custom made or made to measure suits, jackets, shirts. Personally, and I really wanted to mention this because that is my situation right now. I have moved into that world of custom made, made to measure, which has completely changed my life. As you can tell, I guess this waistcoat, the shirt, everything looks very well for my body size. The fit is correct. So once you move into that space of made to measure, trust me, everything changes. But I know it requires a little bit more budget. But I guess that's a topic for a different video. I will talk about it soon, about how to make the most out of your budget when you want to dress better to improve your style. I'll talk about it because made to measure should be a part of it. But it's a reality just for now that perhaps you will have to pay a little bit more for that. So now let's move on to tip number 2. So tip number 2 is proportions. This is similar to fit. When you learn to identify what your proportions are, getting the right fit is going to be much simpler. But just identify. When you're short, perhaps some of your proportions will be not conventional. Let's put it that way, not conventional. For example, I just mentioned my arms are actually shorter when you look at my proportions. Even my hands. If you look at my hands, they are smaller. Maybe you cannot tell in this video, but my hands are kind of small, which I have always hated. I'm gonna make a video about the things I hate about my proportions. But my hands are smaller than average. My legs are also shorter. My arms are short. So I think there's something about my limbs. Something about my limbs is off. I can tell you that. But knowing that, for example, I think my head is quite big for my body. Another thing I hate, but that's the truth. My head is kind of on the big side. So I guess my head is kind of like a normal sized man head in a shorter man's body. That's who I am. So considering that, for example, I can wear I like shoulder pads because they can make my head look a little bit smaller. The proportions, you can the length of your sleeves, modify it a little bit. How long your trousers are, how high waisted you want your trousers to be. For example, I think I'm touching my microphone. I love high-waisted trousers because, again, my legs are very short, are rather short. So kind of elongating my legs will make them appear a little bit longer. Also, wearing a waistcoat, that also helps me because you cannot get this straight line that kind of blurs a little bit how off my proportions can be. And, this is one of the beauties of wearing a suit. I am convinced that it's the most flattering outfit that a man can wear, and done correctly, it can actually hide some of those imperfections of our body proportions that we have. But going back to the actual tip, learn about proportions. Go online, investigate the average proportion of a human body and see how you differ a little bit from it, and start adjusting when you go to the tailor to adjust your clothing to make sure that they will kind of balance those proportions. That can really make a difference. Now let's move on to tip number 3. So tip number 3 is colors and patterns. This is super important, I would say, especially because certain colors can make you look a little bit taller, like elongate the entire frame of your body. Like darker colors can really look very good on short men. You can go with different dark colors. There's navy, there's black, of course, there's dark gray. There are so many different colors, charcoal, so many colors that you can try if you are short that can help you a little bit to appear taller. Now, let me tell you, this is something that I really want to mention. Your goal should not be to appear taller. I mean, yeah, it would be nice. It's cool. Sometimes I think, well, I would like to appear a little bit taller myself as well. But the reality is that your height's not going to change, and how tall you are is really not an indicator of how good of a man you are or anything like that. So you should not try to hide it. You should not try to change how tall you appear. Just embrace it. But there are always things that you can do to make your body look a little bit better proportion, and darker colors can help you with that. Now, when it comes to patterns, big patterns, really loud, big patterns, loud patterns can be, maybe they are not your best friend because they are very big. Your body is not too big, you are short. So that can kind of exaggerate how short you are, or just make you appear uh, shorter, and that's really not something that you want to happen. So be careful with the patterns. You can try every single pattern. Let me tell you, every pattern. Just be aware of the proportions, not too big. Just not don't make those patterns too big. Smaller stripes, smaller squares, smaller patterns, all different patterns, but smaller is better. Then again, I'm gonna say this because I have been guilty of wearing kind of big patterns, because eventually you learn to realize that, well, life is too damn short. Yeah. So not only are you short, but life is also short to kind of obsess too much about those things. If you love a jacket that has a big, loud pattern, make sure you take it to a tailor, make sure the proportions are right, and wear it. That, like, don't feel constrained or limited by these tips. Just take them as guidelines, and then take them and apply them to your personal style and how you want to see your style evolve, and where you want to take your style. Okay, just I wanted to mention that very quickly. Do what's right for you, what feels right for you, and then just take these tips just as some suggestions, friendly suggestions from your friend Ed. Now let's move on to tip number 4. Okay, so tip number 4 is footwear choices. Now, I want to mention this again because this one is a little bit controversial. It can be a little bit difficult to explain, perhaps, or just controversial. Let's go with that. But you really shouldn't change. You shouldn't really try to change how tall you appear or how short you are. That's, I don't know. I feel like you should get the confidence to be who you are and not try to change it. But I know that some of you still want to, appear to gain at least a couple inches or something like that. Well, here's where footwear choice can play a role. You can always wear insoles that kind of elevate you a little bit. They are especially designed so that you appear taller. You can also go with a kind of like a heel, like a taller heel than usual. I mean, it's something that I have considered. It's something, trust me, I have considered it, because no matter how confident I feel now, I still struggle a lot with the fact that I'm short. So I do consider it, but sometimes I feel like, well, people are going to notice, especially those heels. People are going to notice, and knowing that I'm short and people will see that I'm wearing those small heels, I just feel like it's just going to make it worse. Let's put it that way. I think it's just going to make it worse and make it more evident that I'm not comfortable or confident with who I am and my body. But again, that should not limit you in any way. It's just how I feel, and it's a reality. It's kind of a possible solution for many guys out there that are short and they are working on their confidence. So those heels, those heels, those insoles. I think I'm pronouncing insults, not insoles. Can help you a little bit, and if that will give you the confidence, well, why shouldn't you try them? Right? You should try them, see how you feel wearing those shoes, and they can definitely help. So that was tip number 4. Now let's move on to tip number 5. So for tip number 5, I'm thinking about accessories. Do accessories play a role in finding your dapper style as a short man? In a way. I guess you can wear a tie, you can wear a pocket square, you can wear cufflinks, you can wear all these different accessories. Maybe you should try to respect what I was telling you about the proportions and the patterns. So very big patterns maybe might not be the best idea for short men. Maybe over accessorizing, like wearing too many accessories, can be problematic a little bit. Even though I'm a little bit unconvinced about that one, because if you do it right, and if the pocket square is kind of like a very simple pocket square, you're wearing a cool tie, your cufflinks are going to be hidden most of the time. Even if you're wearing suspenders, they are going to be hidden. I guess with accessories, you can feel free to try whatever you want. Maybe it's just those patterns that you should be careful about. But in general, my only recommendation would be not to over accessorize. But this recommendation goes to every man. It doesn't matter if you're super tall, 6 feet tall, if you're very short, if you're oversized, if you're very skinny, like over accessorizing. That's actually a topic for a different video that I'm going to be posting here soon. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about accessories and over accessorizing. But for now, just feel free to try accessories and have fun with it and try different things and just respect the proportions and the patterns. Okay. Now let's move on to the next tip. Okay, the next tip, and this is actually going to be the last tip, and it's not even a tip. It's actually the contrary. So, kind of things that you should not be doing, or recommendations, suggestions that I would give to you if you are rather short, if you are a short man looking to improve your style, to dress more formally, more elegantly. First thing is avoid baggy clothing. I know maybe it's trending in the casual men's style sphere these days, a little bit more baggy t-shirts, baggy jeans, which is kind of crazy to think about it, because just a few years ago everything was super skinny, like super tight, and that was actually infecting a little bit the dapper menswear world as well. But nowadays it seems to go in the opposite direction. It's particularly the casual men's style, but I can start to notice that it's also affecting the dapper men's style, where uh, the fit of the suits is starting to get a little bit more loose. But you should never ever wear a baggy suit, like super baggy. That's not pleasant. That's not flattering to any man in the world, and especially if you are short. If you are short, baggy clothing, even when you're dressed casually, that's not going to help you at all. It's not going to make you look good. You're not going to look presentable. I would say that's my opinion. Of course, you can differ. You can have a different opinion, but baggy clothing is going to be your worst enemy. First of all, baggy clothing. Also, excessive layers. That's something that you shouldn't be doing. Of course, you can wear a nice fitted waistcoat. Take it from me. You can wear your jacket, you can wear a scarf perhaps. Just be careful not to over layer. Is that a word? Just don't wear too many layers, one on top of another. And I know many of us love layers, many of us love layering. You see those models, Instagram models, wearing their overcoats and this awesome, amazing pieces of clothing. But you have to realize that when you are short and you kind of want to make your body look the best it can, you just have to be very careful with the layers. You can wear layers, take it from me, but just be careful not to overdo it. Okay. The next thing is overcompensating. That's another thing that I really feel like you shouldn't be doing. And especially this goes back to all these different times already that I have mentioned. Like, don't try to overcompensate for the fact that you're short. Like, try extreme things that maybe you hear will make you look taller. And again, I just don't want you to feel like I am telling you not to do it. Like, never do that. It's your life. It's your style. You should have fun with it. You should try different things. You should try what works for you, even if it doesn't work for me. You can always find what's right for you. But just be careful, right? Because and I can tell you from personal experience, when you try to overcompensate for it, I don't know. Eventually, you just feel like you are tricking yourself, that you are trying to trick others, when in reality, that shouldn't be the case. You should embrace who you are and try to look your best, try to take your style to that level that you want it to be. But overcompensate, it's not going to change anything really. It could actually end up harming how or hurting how you feel about yourself. So just be careful with that. With those heels, with those kind of ways that you can trick how tall you appear. Just be careful with that. That's all I'm gonna say. So that was the last tip. Okay, so now before I end this video, the most important thing I want to mention, and you might as well have skipped to the end of this video really, because this is really the most important, the key takeaway of this video. I did provide some good tips. I would say these are very good tips for every short man that wants to look his best when he's wearing a suit or elevate his style as a short man. But the most important thing really is that, and I know it sounds cliche, but confidence is key, really. Just have confidence in yourself. There are so many different things about you as a person, about you as a man, all the things you do, all your goals, your accomplishments, your passions, all of those things are what make you an interesting person, an interesting man. Your height, how tall or how short you are, it's not a defining factor in any way. And just think about it, it's really not. And I guess I'm talking to myself as well when I'm saying this, because it's cyclical. Eventually, I always go back to those dark thoughts about, oh man, I wish I were a little bit taller, just a couple of inches perhaps, just a little bit. I do go back to those places, to those dark places, but it's not helpful. It's something that you're not going to change. And the truth is that is not what defines you as a man. It never is. If you're really intelligent about it, it really isn't. And yes, there's always going to be people that are going to judge you because you're short. They are going to have their own thoughts about who you are as a man when you're short. That's kind of like those, those wrong perceptions that people have. But who cares? Like, who effing cares what they think? Really, it's you who know your value, and it's you who can give yourself that level of confidence that you need. And I'm sure it's inside of you. I'm sure it's inside of me. I'm sure it's inside of everyone. We can always go back to that inner source of confidence that we all have it. And once you find that source, the rest can, it just doesn't matter. So confidence is always going to be key. How you carry yourself when you're dressed up, when you're wearing a suit, standing up straight, shoulders back. Those postures of confidence are gonna be key, and they're gonna be game changers in your style. Believe me, once you learn how to pull from that source of motivation and confidence, and you apply that in your style and your demeanor and how you interact with people and your posture, all of that, you will notice your height. It really doesn't matter how tall you are. The confidence is what will give you a successful style. And I guess it goes beyond style. You can be successful with confidence, and that's in general. Eventually, we will talk about confidence and how important it is for every man. Because this channel, I want to talk a little bit more about your style, also how you can elevate your style, elevate your life, your fitness, just becoming a better man. That's the goal for this channel. But for now, just remember, confidence is key in your style as a short man. Okay, so now I guess that was all I had for you today. I hope those tips are going to be helpful. I hope they're going to be useful. I hope they will give you the confidence not to get stuck in your height, and know that I told you that there was going to be a light at the end of the tunnel of this video. Well, that's the light at the end of the tunnel of this video. Hopefully you now see the light, and you know that you can embrace your Dapper style and that you can take it to that level where you want it to be. Just follow these tips, and I'm sure you're going to get there. I've done it myself, so I know it works. And I know that if you are really passionate about it and you really want to elevate your style, you can do it. Okay. So I feel like I am rambling now, but I want to end this video asking you a question like, what has been your biggest struggle as a short man, if that's the case, to find your own Dapper style, to take your style to that elegant level that you want, that you like? Because I'm sure that many of you are in that similar situation, and I want to learn from you as well. Maybe you will have some tips for me, because again, it's also a struggle for me, and eventually I go to those dark places, and your tips and suggestions will also help me. Okay, we can make this a two-way street of inspiration and motivation. So thank you so much. If you are enjoying these videos, if you are finding them helpful, please subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your short friends and with your tall friends as well. I'm going to talk about tall men as well. Some tips for you, tall, lucky people. And well, that's it for today. Thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye.